Too pretty for prison. That single phrase, spoken by a defense lawyer, became the headline that defined an entire case. It created a media firestorm, reducing a complex legal drama to a simple, sensational idea. A beautiful woman who charmed her way out of justice. But it was a distraction, a brilliant piece of misdirection. Because if you look closer at the evidence, if you dig past the headlines and into the court records, a different story emerges. So tell me, was it her looks that saved her, or was it something far darker hiding in her court records? Before the scandal, before the mugshot went viral, Debra Lafave was a person. And to understand what really happened, we have to go back to before she was a travesty. Born in 1980, she was a cheerleader described by her friends as energetic and friendly. She got married young, and by her early 20s, she was living a seemingly normal suburban life in Florida, teaching middle school social studies. By all accounts, she was a popular teacher. Students liked her. The school administration had no major complaints. On the surface, everything was fine, but underneath, the foundation was cracking. Her marriage was falling apart, and by 2004, she was separated from her husband. This is the person who walked into her classroom in 2005. Not a monster, not a villain from a movie, but a 24-year-old woman whose personal life was in turmoil. This context is not an excuse, but it is crucial, because the media erased all of it and replaced it with a single unforgettable image. This picture. This is where the public story begins. On May 4, 2005, Debra Lafave was arrested. The charge? Physical relation with a 14-year-old student. And as expected, the news exploded. The details that emerged were disturbing. The relationship allegedly began with notes, progressed to meetings after school, and ultimately led to multiple encounters off campus. The evidence, according to the prosecution, was strong. They had the student's testimony, physical evidence found in her car, and even Lafave's own partial confession to the investigators. To the public, it seemed like an open and shut case. A guilty teacher, a vulnerable student, the expectation was a long, severe prison sentence. And then her attorney spoke to the press. That one sentence, she's just too pretty to go to prison. That one sentence was like throwing gasoline on fire. It was arrogant, dismissive, and completely shifted the focus. The focus was no longer about the crime. It was about beauty, privilege, and whether a woman's appearance could let her cheat the system. The media narrative was set. Every article, every news report, every late night joke was now framed around this idea. Debra Lafave became the hot teacher. Her face was the story. And this is where most people's memory of the case stops. The pretty teacher, the outrageous quote, the public fury. We were also focused on her face. We missed what was happening in the one place that actually mattered, the courtroom. The media gave you a spectacle, but the prosecution and the defense were fighting a war with paper and precedent. And the real reason this case took a shocking turn isn't found in a photograph, but on page 7 of a plea agreement no one bothered to read. So what was that something darker hiding in her transcripts? It wasn't a conspiracy. It was something more common and in some ways more disturbing. The cold, calculated mechanics of the legal system. The prosecution, despite having what seemed like a strong case, faced potential problems. First, the key witness was a minor. Long grueling trials can be incredibly traumatic for young victims, and prosecutors often seek to avoid this. Second, Lafave's defense was preparing to argue that she had been manipulated by the student, a defense that, while a long shot, could muddy the waters for a jury. They were also looking at Lafave's mental state. Her defense claimed she was emotionally unstable, suffering from mental health issues that impaired her judgment. This opened the door for a defense strategy, aimed at generating sympathy and arguing for rehab over prison. This is the secret, the darker thing. The darker thing wasn't just a bribe or hidden connection. It was the unglamorous behind-the-scenes negotiation that trades a potential long sentence for a guaranteed conviction, even if the punishment feels light to the public. Lafave pleaded guilty. In exchange, she would avoid prison entirely. The sentence, 2 years of house arrest followed by long probation. So case closed, right? The pretty teacher used a legal loophole and got away with it. That's the story we all accepted. But it's wrong. Because the verdict wasn't the end of a story. It was the beginning of a different kind of prison. What happened after the cameras went away reveals the true, lasting cost of our actions and proves that too pretty for prison defense was a lie all along. Debra Lafave's life did not return to normal. It spiraled. The house arrest was just the beginning. The conditions of her probation was very strict. She kept failing. In 2007, she was arrested for hiding a lewd and lascivious email from her probation officer. In 2008, she was arrested again for tampering with her electronic monitoring device. In 2009, she was arrested for a drug possession. Each time she was sent back to jail, serving short stints. The pretty teacher who avoided prison was, ironically, in and out of prison for years. Her name was now synonymous with scandal, making normal life impossible. She worked odd jobs, struggled with substance abuse, and was arrested again as recently as 2018. This wasn't a life of glamour or privilege. It was a slow public collapse. So let's go back to our original question. Was it her looks that saved her, or something darker? We were also busy debating whether she was too pretty for prison that we never stopped to ask if the system itself was working, and that might be the most important question of all. The next time you see a sensational headline, remember this case.